Hi, guys, and welcome to the very first episode of the new mental health series called Re-Education Through Health Fundamentals. My name is Ara Azim, and first of all, thank you guys for listening in today. I know this has been a long time coming, so I do appreciate your patience. First and foremost, and plain and simple, the last 6 years I've been working to gather information to prove exactly why it is time to reform our educational system and why we need to start prioritizing mental health and overall wellness in our classrooms. So really, there are more than enough reasons as to why we need to have this conversation now more than ever, not only because of rising mental health cases, but also how much COVID has been affecting our health and our lives overall. Every day, millions of children and adults continue to battle emotionally, physically, and or mentally for reasons that can be widely preventable if we just made it a point to teach the very fundamentals of health and wellness early on in education, along with things like how to establish healthy habits, how to maintain them, what the long-term effects are of maintaining healthy habits and of ignoring them. So the difference, and this is huge throughout the entire show, boils down into how we are educated, what we practice both in schools and at home, along with our ability to connect and make use of the information that we learn in our educational in our educational careers. So to start, here's just a few pieces of evidence that point out to just how urgent the mental health issue has gotten. One, according to the CDC, the rate of suicide among 10 to 24-year-olds increased nearly 60% between 2007 and 2018. Globally, 1 in 7 10 to 19-year-olds experiences a mental health disorder of some sort. The percentage of teenagers in the United States taking antidepressants has been steadily increasing for the last 5 years. Depression, anxiety, and other behavioral disorders are among the leading causes of illness among adolescents. In the last 3 months of 2020 alone, antidepressants among the entire adult population saw an increase of 6%. Suicide is still the fourth leading cause of death among teenagers in the United States today. The consequence of failing to address adolescent mental health conditions extends to adulthood, according to the CDC, impairing both physical and mental health and limiting opportunities to lead fulfilling lives as adults. In addition, at least 4 out of the 10 leading causes of death in the United States today are proven to be either manageable, preventable, or even reversible with proper nutrition and exercise over time. And these include heart disease, COVID, diabetes, and stroke. So what we need to realize is a lot of the underlying issues can be addressed and prevented from early on if we make it a point to, among many things, provide children with a school environment better suited to create, understand the purpose of, and maintain a solid foundation of health and wellness that will last them through adulthood, not one that creates more mental health problems than addresses. To bring the idea and the concept of this series full circle, all points will be connected through fundamentals of nutrition, psychology, neurology, as well as information gathered from educational studies, even spiritual and meditative studies, mental health related cases. And along the way, I'll also be interviewing professionals to have a wide range of unique perspectives on the subjects and even possible solutions to the matter. So taking things a step even further, this discussion will need to extend to the implications surrounding the health-related changes that are needed at the structural level in education. So what I mean by this are the implications of the reinforcing behaviors and habits made at home, of the cultural and economic implications, general accessibility to the public to health resources and services in our communities, and finally, government implications surrounding better promoting overall health and wellness in our schools and in our communities. Mental and nutritional health and prevention is a foundation that everyone, especially children, should have access to, given the profound and positive potential it has in affecting the entire life of a child. So according to the CDC, teenage years are crucial for developing social and emotional habits that are necessary for mental well-being. These include adopting healthy sleeping patterns, exercising regularly, developing coping, problem-solving, and interpersonal skills. So, if this is the case, and don't take my word for it, ask your kids, ask your friends, ask your neighbors, Why do schools continue to inadvertently push children into developing opposite habits? Why have we yet begun to shift the focus on creating an environment which prioritizes mental and physical well-being? So, why not start, for example, by making a school a place that acknowledges the different strengths and gives children the opportunity to hone their skills instead of worrying about getting good grades across the board? Why not go as far as showing a child the power of pairing something like discipline with healthy habits way long before trying to overload them with tons of information that they're not even going to retain after graduation? Especially, again, when the facts point at how badly we've been neglecting mental health as a whole. Take it a step even further in education and teach that kid to properly balance nutrition and exercise over time. And you effectively teach them how to subconsciously program their body into not only becoming stronger physically over time, but also gaining the ability, and more importantly, gaining the ability to manage, prevent, and even reverse a wide range of mental and physical illnesses. These include, again, COVID, anxiety, depression, heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, most of which, again, are current leading causes of death in the country. It's important to note, and this will be key throughout the entire series, that not only is our mental and physical health interconnected, but it is actually our mental health that is a primary determinant of our overall physical well-being. So let me break that down a bit more. Our emotional health directly influences immune system function. In other words, where we used to think that physical health impacts emotional well-being, neurology now tells us that it's the other way around. How you feel affects your immune system more than anything else. Consider this also. According to many successful people and entrepreneurs in the country, what it means to be successful, no matter what the word success means to you, ultimately relies heavily in your attitude, how you deal with people and understand them, how you interact with them, along with your ability to make meaningful connections, not only with people, but with ideas also. So all of these skills rely almost entirely on your ability to, 1, communicate, 2, control your emotions, and 3, be level-headed. In other words, all of which fall under the mental health umbrella and not on the disconnected ideas and facts that you learn or that you manage to retain in school. So before I continue, when I say reform education, I'm not implying that we should stop teaching children all of the subjects and focus purely on mental health. I'm simply recommending that we analyze the way schools are either working or not working to promote general mental health and overall wellness, and begin taking steps towards transitioning, or more accurately, upgrading our current system into one where the success potential for the child is much greater. Again, using everything we now know and have access to about how children actually learn and what it means to be successful. So as promised, the main purpose of this episode is to point out some of the major flaws in our current educational system. Here's a start. For over a century, there have been numerous scholarly and scientific studies done on how children actually learn, none of which, to this day, have been successfully applied in the public school setting. A primary example of how these methods have been used is Montessori schools, and they have successfully applied these findings since early 20th century. Everything from the way the classroom is set up, to how they go about determining a child's abilities, to how they build on those unique strengths and abilities and skills, are all based on scientific research on how children learn. All of this information is now readily available to the public now. So my question is, why have we not yet utilized it to benefit our children over a century later? 2, the very simple layout of classrooms is not only outdated, but is proven to be regressive in terms of helping children focus and retain information. Even chairs set up in rows are shown to decrease overall participation and engagement in the classrooms. On the other hand, we now know that open areas of learning facilitate conversation and interaction between children and have proven to increase creativity and flow of conversation and thought in classrooms far more than the conventional school setting. So if technology and COVID weren't already kind of conditioning us or almost forcing us to become allergic to general human interaction, I will repeat that Much of our success in our adult life widely depends on interpersonal skills alone. 3, these studies have also taught us that children are almost never motivated by the content taught in school. They're motivated by how they feel while they're learning. The better they feel about themselves in general correlates to success in the classroom. 4, drowning children with overloads of information has proven to be unsuccessful in terms of memory retention, has proven to demotivate the child, and increase levels of anxiety and depression. Now we have information and research which states that if you show a child early on in their educational career what their strengths are, what subjects they're good at, and maybe some skills that they have, they will thrive and succeed in the classroom far more than, again, in the conventional school setting where we force kids to believe that they should be equally knowledgeable in all subjects. 6, the way our current education system is structured often inadvertently tells children that failing is inherently bad and therefore makes them afraid to fail anywhere else. That in itself is an incredibly toxic idea to instill into anyone, let alone a child. Failing is not only necessary, but we adults use it a lot of the times to make room for improvement or just to change directions in general if whatever we're doing currently is no longer working. So in school, to me, that should mean that if you're bad at math, cool, that's okay. You probably just shouldn't be a math teacher or like a data analyst or something. And you're good at art, awesome. Don't take the other subjects too personally and focus on cultivating your creativity where your strengths lie. Let me be the first to say it, and there's absolutely no point in blaming anybody if we ever want to get anything done. And really, the reason why public school education is structured the way that it is pretty simple. And I'll explain it briefly because, again, it ties back into the point. So this is number 6, actually. It's flaw number 6. Our public education system was created during the Industrial Revolution. So during the time where the assembly line and factory model thrived, this was in the efficiency age, because as a country, we needed to expand by generating products the most cost-effective and efficient way possible. The only problem is that the educational system was created to mirror the factory model and the entire efficiency age movement for that matter. So the purpose of mirroring the public education system to mirror these factory and assembly line models was necessary at the time because it taught adults and children the same set of facts and skills in the same fashion for the purpose of performing specific job functions, because again, the majority of people ended up working in factories and an assembly line to create these products. However, as we started studying how children actually learn, we've realized this model was created under the assumption that people work in the same way that products do in an assembly line. So in goes information and out goes a professional. Well, that's no longer the case because now we know that people thrive through positive, ongoing emotional, mental, and physical states. We do not thrive through performing tasks and learning disconnected facts. If you think about it, a lot of the information that we've learned in schools, we now have access to at the palm of our hand. So thanks, Google. 7, we have collectively known for years that there's no such thing as one set path to success. Paths to success look different for each person because, again, the word success itself means something different for each of us. And where some may belong and thrive in the conventional school setting, emphasis needs to be placed on all other options, such as trade school, learning how to normalize entrepreneurship to janitors, tow truck drivers, pastry chefs, opera singers, online sales, whatever. Frankly, the options are endless. So why continue to limit our paths to success when the evidence to success lies and relies on the individual and is unique to the individual? Why do we continue to support being thrown into adulthood without ever being taught just how to be all right with ourselves, like at peace with our families, with our peers, even how to maintain a balanced life? Extending to things like how to create a budget plan, the importance of saving money, how to do a self-risk analysis when it comes to personal economics, and even how to manage some of the adversities we face in our personal lives. Again, actual meaningful and functional skills that are extensively used in adulthood. All of that said, Not many people seem to question the current structure and soundness of public education simply because the system has existed over the course of centuries. Despite the millions of mental health related cases, suicides, threats, mass shootings, and seemingly inexplicable violence extending all the way to our communities, all of these examples have been screaming at the lack of nationwide concern for mental health. So why have we continued to accept that it's normal, especially for children, to be constantly discontent, stressed, anxious, and depressed while learning, if this crucial point in our lives has massive potential in impacting the child's entire life and society as a whole? Again, like I said, maybe especially older generations are so used to the same sort of experiences that we've all collectively decided that this is the way that it should be. It is what it is. Well, I'm here to tell you that it isn't. And for the sake of future generations and their mental health, it's imperative that we change this way of thinking now. It's time that we begin the open-ended and seemingly difficult conversation on how we can better structure our current educational system in a way that provides children with an environment where they are intrinsically motivated to learn. So where we first care about making them feel important and heard, and that's why they want to keep going. Not one where you have to force your child to go to a school which they hate because they get a few bad grades, which in turn leaves them feeling distracted, sad, angry, because again, school's their main occupation, but they can't retain all that information. Then parents are left wondering why their kids spend most of their free time disengaging on social media, not realizing school has been compromising much of their mental and emotional well-being. And this affects most other aspects of the kid's life. So how a child feels at the end of the day affects their attitude, affects what kind of friends they make, if they make any friends, types of relationships they form, and hobbies and activities they get into. Not surprisingly, some parents might even blame themselves or teachers. But again, there's no point in pointing fingers when we can fix most of these issues from a structural standpoint or at the root. And again, very few people have asked questions as to why we've never updated the system, even though everything about the way that we live and what we know about how children learn has drastically changed over the years. It's time we begin turning tides not only for ourselves, most importantly for our children, by challenging first our current views and habits on general health and wellness so that we can start working to be generally more happy, productive, and successful, whether that be in our classrooms, our careers, or our personal lives. Why not go as far as helping children who are in the perfect position to learn and do differently than we did? It's time to prioritize health and wellness, and the change starts with us. Thank you guys so much for listening in. I'm excited to get this ball rolling. There are so many topics to go through, and I'm excited to share them all with you. So thank you guys again for listening in, and tune in next week. Hopefully I get this video editing skill down. Thanks guys. Have a good night.